Okay, so in this video, it's going to be a short video. I'm going to be telling you the compliances that you will have to meet if you're registering your business as a company or a limited liability company in Nigeria. Now, if you're running business in Nigeria or you're about to start running businesses in Nigeria, you should know basically that there are two types of registration that you should be doing or that you can do when you want to register your business with the Corporate Affairs Commission or the CAC. And broadly, you can either register your business as a business name or a limited liability company. Now, I want to focus this video based on the topic that I am treating. So for a business name, I'm not going to be talking so much because of course, if you're registering your business as a business name, it's a very basic business. You actually don't have any major compliances, to meet if you register as a business name. The only thing that you need to do is that every year you have to file your annual returns with the Corporate Affairs Commission, basically just letting CAC know that you are still interested in that name and that you don't want the business to go inactive. Okay, because if you don't file your annual returns, you are going to go inactive and then you have to pay late penalty for that business to come up active again with the CAC. And you also need to understand that if your business is inactive, you will not be able to do anything with that business legally, okay, until that business has been activated. Apart from that, there's really nothing else you need to do if your business is registered as a business name. It's a basic business. So if you're running a small business and you don't want stress for yourself, I think you should go for a business name. Now let's go to the limited liability company. Now before I start, I want you to understand that this video is actually meant for educational purpose alone. If you really want to have the nitty-gritty information of what you need to know, what you need to do, the compliances that you need to know, and you want it in an officially presentable way, and you want to know all your way around it, you will need to meet experts that will, give you a brief or give you every detail of what you need to do. So please just treat this video as educational video trying to help you know some of the things you need to know about. And then if you're more interested in getting expert advice, please seek the advice of an expert and don't use this video as your last resort to getting your information. Okay, all right, but before we start, of course, if you need to register your business with the CAC, you need to carry out your annual returns or you need to do your NIN, whichever issue you have at all around your business. If you need help, you can always reach out to me using the WhatsApp number in the video description. And also I have someone that can help you get your tinted motorcar glass permit. If you want that done for you, you can also reach out to me and we will be willing to help you. But what I did was that I went to ChatGPT, okay, and I asked ChatGPT a few questions, and trust me, my ChatGPT is different from your own, okay? And all the information that are given to me here, they are all valid information because I read through them, and I think it's going to help you a lot. So let's get over to my computer and let me show you some of the things I got from ChatGPT if you want to or you're already running a limited liability company in Nigeria. Let's get over to it. Okay, like I told you, my ChatGPT is an amazingly trained, ChatGPT, and the information that it's giving me here are quite interesting. So the prompt I gave ChatGPT here is, I have a duly registered limited liability company in Nigeria. What are the compliances that I must meet as a limited liability company in Nigeria? Please do not give me irrelevant details of all possible compliances, but the ones that are valid as of 2025 and only apply to a small company. All right, so ChatGPT responded, said, good move registering your company. Now let's map out the key compliances boxes that you need to tick in Nigeria as of 2025 for a small company scenario. So this is for a small company, of course, and I think it's going to benefit most of us. I'll keep it practical and cut out the flashy extras, okay? Good. So what are the core compliance checklists? Here are the major legal and regulatory obligations you should focus on. Number one, Corporate Affairs Commission CAC annual returns. Okay, every limited liability company must file an annual returns with the CAC. I've made a lot of videos about that already, so I believe that should not be an issue for you. And if you have questions about that, I will link some of those videos in the video description. You can always watch them, and you can also ask me questions in the comment section for that. Okay, so they are saying it's just giving you a breakdown of how it's done here, so I don't think that is a lot of issues for us to talk about. Okay, so the second one, it says tax compliance. That's the Federal Inland Revenue Service and your state revenue authorities. Now it's saying that you must obtain your tax identification number, that's your TIN, and ensure you're registered for applicable taxes. Okay, again, I've made videos about taxes. I will leave the link to some of those videos also in the video description. You might want to look at them. Like I said again, I am not your tax advisor, so make sure you contact your tax advisors if you need more information about some of these things that that I'm talking about here. Okay, so here it's talking about the company income tax, the CIT. Okay, it's talking about the value added tax, that's the VAT. Okay, so this one, of course, is on the product or services that you are offering the public, and then the personal income tax, which in this case is the payee. That is, if you have employees, you need to deduct tax and pay or remit to the government if you are running a company. Okay, so basically that is that. Okay, so number 3 is talking about employment and payroll related compliances. This one is not very popular, so you may have to pay attention to this. So if you have employees, pay attention to the laws on pension, industrial training, workers' compensation. But hey, before you black out on this, let's listen to some of the things it's saying here, which are very real and true. For example, under the National Pension Commission, that's the PENCOM scheme, typically for employers with 15 plus employees. So if you have less than 15 employees in your limited liability company, okay, this might not be an issue for you. Okay, so also contributions to the industrial training fund, that's the ITF, if you meet certain threshold. Okay, and one of those threshold is that you must, I think you must have about 5 employees, okay, before you will be eligible to start making this contribution also. So for a small company, it's not an issue. Okay, I think it's saying something here. If you're small, very few employees with low turnover, you might be exempt from some of this. Okay, so saying ITF might not be an issue for you also if you run a very small company. Okay, so now it's giving advice about record keeping and corporate governance basics. Okay, so let's read a few of some of these things. It says maintain your registers. Okay, so if you have directors, if you have shareholders, of course, you need to maintain a good record and register. Okay, if you run meetings, of course, if you have a board of directors, if you have shareholders, you will hold meetings. You should document your meetings, your resolutions, your financial record. Okay, the financial record is very important. Okay, so you might actually need audited reports depending on how big your company is, and then for resolutions, okay, this is just in case if you need to carry out upgrades or you need to make changes or editings to present details of your company with the CAC. You always need different types of resolutions, as a matter of fact. Okay, so that's what it's saying here. Now, even if you're small, you want to have the memorandum and article of association as your MEMAT, valid registered office address, and so on. Okay, but this is of course not an issue, because if your company was well registered, all of these details would have been documented in your MEMAT already. Okay, so that is not an issue. And then number 5 is talking about data protection if it applies to you. Now it's saying if your company collects or processes personal data, okay, especially above certain threshold, you will need to comply with the Nigerian Data Protection Act of 2023. You might also want to read a little bit more about this. I would have discussed more about this, but then I don't want these videos to be too long. But again, quite a number of you may not really need to worry about this one again. Even if you're small, it is wise to have basic data protection protocol. Okay, so you might also want to just put this at the back of your mind if you run a company here. Okay, and like I said, if you need more details, you can always reach out to an expert to give you a bit more guidance on some of these things, or you can drop your questions in the comment section, and then we'll see what we can do to help you answer them. Okay, so you're saying what you might not need to worry about or relax obligations that you may not need to really bother yourself too much about. Now, you can remember that when I started this, I used a prompt and I asked ChatGPT to make sure to give me breakdown for a small company. So it's saying since you said small company, here are some items that often apply only when you hit certain size or turnover threshold. Now, remember, we don't need to worry too much about some of these ones he's saying because if you're small, you may not really need to worry about them. Number one, full-blown contributory pension scheme if you have less than 15 employees, depending on the state and the sector that you're operating on. Okay, so if you have less than 15 employees, you might not need to worry too much about this. The second one is talking about the industrial training fund. It's already mentioned it earlier on. Contributions, if you have less, okay, so it's saying if you have fewer than 5 employees, so I was correct, and turnover under 50 million, okay, and turnover of under 50 million, you may not need to worry yourself about paying the industrial training fund contribution. Okay, and the third one is saying here is that industry specific licenses or very heavy regulations, you may not need to worry about them if you are just in general services and consultancy. So it's saying less so than, for example, if you're not in bank, you're not in healthcare, oil and gas, you may not need to worry too much about some of these licenses that they talk about here. So if you run a general business, you will not really have to worry too much about this. All right, so it gives us a final advice. Okay, so this one is actually more for my kind of company because, like I said, I trained my ChatGPT and I'm running on the 5.1 version. So it's talking to me now, but then it may also apply to you. Okay, so it's saying since I am a content marketer and digital business service provider, so likely in a lower risk general service industry. Okay, so mine is lower risk. Here are what is recommending that I should prioritize. You should ensure that your company's annual returns with the CAC is up to date. That's not an issue. We've talked about that already. Of course, you should know that if you run either a business name or a company, you need to have your TIN or your TIN. You need to keep your tax returns, file them properly, keep your record, and I think record here is very important. Now, if you have employees or you will have employees, you need to set up your pay deductions correctly. You need to keep your payroll record, you need to remit them, okay, and make sure that you keep a clean record so that you don't have issues. Now it's saying you should maintain company minutes and registers, that is if you have directors and shareholders. Okay, if you handle customer data, you want to make sure that you keep data very sensitive. Okay, and then you need to save and archive your record for the required retention period. Okay, so you can see now that these are basically some of the things that I need to do for myself if I run a small company in Nigeria. Some of these will also apply to you, especially if yours is also a small company. So basically, these are some of the things you need to know. And like I said, if you are really wanting to know more about some of these things, if you run a business, of course, you can keep watching my channel. I will keep doing my best to make sure that I update you guys on things you need to know. I will do my research, of course. I will ask experts, of course, but like I said, you also need to meet experts if you also want to know exactly where you should stand and what you should be doing if you run a limited liability company in Nigeria. So what I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to download this particular report. Okay, so if you need them, you just comment, I need this document in the comment section, and then I'm going to find a way to make sure that you have the document so that you can have it for yourself, study them, and use it as a guide to get more information that you need to get so that you can run your company in Nigeria without having any legal issues. All right, so guys, this is it. Like I said, please don't use this video as your last resort, to your source of information. If you want to get more, you want expert advice, honestly, you will have to contact an expert to give you better understanding of how all of this run. And if you still have any question for me, of course, you can always drop them in the video description. I will answer them the best way I can do it. And if I need to also consult other experts, okay, to be able to answer this question better, I will do that. So make sure you subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so, because I might be making more videos as a follow-up to this video. And please, I want you to help me share it so that more business owners can get to see this video. Please like it also. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in another video.